Hello, everyone. Welcome to my presentation. I'm going to be talking about the physical environments for learning. The course is called Neuroscience and Coaching. My name is Colette Shebe, and this is under the supervision of Dr. Rita Nasrallah. Okay, so we're going to start talking about neuroscientists. So neuroscientists are scientists that have studied neuroscience, which is a branch of biology that will deal with the physiology, the biochemistry, and the anatomy of the brain. So basically, they're studying the way our brain interacts with our environment and the way we in turn behave. So over here, the neuroscientists have studied the physical environment of the school and all of its aspects and how it in turn affects our learning or students' learning. Okay, so let's look at the experience of a child. As soon as a child comes in, the child starts doing his observations. So once they start observing their physical environment, their brain starts to really break things down. They're starting to breathe in the air. They're going to start listening to their environment, and then they're going to finally formulate a judgment about their environment. Now, this judgment in turn will tell a kid or a child if this is a good environment for them. So these are the environmental cues that'll make them judge if this is a suitable learning environment for them. Does it feel familiar? Does it feel friendly? And does it feel safe? All right, so the neuroscientists did a lot of research on the factors of the physical environment. And they said that the physical environment will influence how students perceive things, how they hear things, their perception of what they see. It'll influence the perception of what they're feeling in the classroom. And this, in turn, will affect their cognitive performance. Now, there are different factors about the physical environment in a classroom or in a school. But sometimes some factors have a higher influence on the child more than other factors. So the influence will impact, of course, their achievement and their performance. We're going to be talking about the other factors, and we're going to talk about the factors in specific later on. So the school as a whole needs better awareness, planning, and a few changes can make can go a long way in cognitive performance and their achievement. Okay, so in my part, in this chapter, we're going to be discussing 5 different variables and other variables, but mainly these 5, about the physical environment and how it will help to enhance the learning environment for the kids. So how to enhance their performance, basically. We're going to start by talking about the seating, student seating, the temperature of the classroom, where they're learning, the lighting, and the noise level, and how this affects their cognitive performance, and the building design. So we're going to put all these together when we are dissecting their physical environment. Okay, so the seating is very important. Where they sit is really important. So the location of where they're sitting will influence their stress levels and the amount of safety that they're feeling. Now, in a classroom context, where they're sitting means the distance between them and the board, them in the back of the class, who they're sitting next to, and their distance from resources, such as books, their distance from them to the bathroom, and so on and so forth. When it comes to seating, chair and table design, it's recommended that there are tilted tables, as research has shown that these tilted tables increase the academic performance in reading comprehension. These chairs need to be adjustable so they can be individualized to each child's needs, and posture-friendly seats. These posture-friendly seats will help students sit more comfortably, removing the stress off of their muscles, their back muscles, their muscles, neck muscles, and legs. These flat chairs cause issues on the long run, as well as short-term problems where they are not concentrating because they're uncomfortable. And these chairs need to be well designed. When it comes to the seating arrangement, it has its impact. There is no right way or wrong way, but there are recommendations. According to research, rows proves beneficial when students need to work on individually on their own task at hand and need deep focus and concentration. This works really well when they can sit in the rows. When they sit in groups and need to work individually and really focus on a task at hand, there are a lot of distractions. But group work is also important when you want to encourage generating of questions and cooperative learning. Okay, so there are a lot of recommendations when it comes to seating. When it comes to chairs and tables, as we already spoke about a few recommendations of how the chair and table should be, it also is important that the chair is not attached to the table so they can maximize comfort and flexibility for the child. Also, flexible seating, not always sitting in the same places, in the same ways, is important. Teachers need to notice incorrect sitting and fix students' postures. And this will help in turn their academic performance. When it comes to students that have hyperactivity, such as ADHD students, it is recommended to use an exercise ball. And this exercise ball will help stimulate the child as well as give them an amount of flexibility and freedom. Another thing is that allow students to stand up and sit as they please. If a child is comfortable standing up while working, he should be allowed to do so. Temperature. So another variable is temperature. I never thought of that before this. But this is very interesting. So neuroscientists said that the brain is a very temperature-sensitive organ. So the better cooled it is, the more cooled it is to a certain degree, the better it works. So it'll be more relaxed, it'll be able to receive, it's going to be receptive and cognitively sharp. So the fact is that the temperature will affect the level of neurotransmitters, such as norepinephrine and serotonin. So these chemicals are associated with moods, such as their aggression, their depression, and relaxation. And too much of it will cause aggressive behavior. I really like this piece of information. I think it's very helpful, especially for teachers working with students that already have behavioral issues. So here it says that research shows that the temperature, when you raise a temperature of a classroom or a room, this is not good for the brain. So we're going to see that the research shows that the lowered students that were in classrooms that were higher temperatures, so 70 degree Fahrenheit, which is around 21 degrees Celsius. So they will have lowered scores on both intellectual and physical tasks. So they will not do well on physical and intellectual tasks. They will have lower reading comprehension scores as well. Reading comprehension and math skills declines. So we will have so like I said, the optimal temperature is around 70 Fahrenheit, which is 21 degrees Celsius. Okay, when it comes to temperature recommendations and trying to keep the classroom at 21 degrees, there are different alternatives. Not all schools have an AC. Although central AC is highly recommended as they have the lowest amount of noise that it gives out, fans can be installed or plugged in. Also, flexible clothing should be worn. Flexible clothing that is layered should be worn rather than very thick one-piece clothing, because once children come in, they take off their jackets so they can be able to move around more easily, and they tend to get cold. I see this especially in grade 1. Also, implementing the blues and green colors in the classroom, such as these cool colors, gives a psychological effect of cool feeling. Also, implementing shutters in the classroom that limit the sunlight, but also allows a little bit of sunlight to get in, will also help cool down the classroom during a hot day. Opening the doors and windows whenever possible, if there's not too much noise outside. Number 3 is lighting. Natural light versus artificial light. We all know that natural light, which is sunlight, a form of natural light, will help the body produce vitamin D. But what is important about vitamin D is that it helps the mineral absorption in the body, and the lack of mineral absorption is an aiding factor of nonverbal cognitive deficiency. So it's very important that light is able to enter the classroom, and proper exposure inside of the school and also at home for students. And on the other side, you see here a bright classroom, but without any windows, which is not recommended at all. Okay, so what does research say about lighting? So there was a lot of research done, and one of the research actually had different classes, and they were controlling the amount of light entering these classes. And the classes that had the brightest amount of light had better results in math and reading. Also, there is another research done that shows that an increase in seasonal affective disorder, which is a disorder that is mostly common in winter because there's not enough exposure to sunlight, and mostly that happens in northern countries such as the UK. So because there's not enough sunlight exposure, we do not see the production of serotonin and melatonin. And this is a cause-effect kind of relationship. And the drop in serotonin and melatonin will cause depression and mood alterations. And of course, this is seen if the amount of daylight is scarce. So proper exposure to daylight has shown to reduce eye fatigue and lethargy, and will also improve concentration and even immunity. Also, other research shows the academic performance was better in brighter classrooms, and also in some schools that had better exposure to sunlight, they had higher growth rates. There is a correlation there. So, finally, but not least, the cognitive performance, mood, and depression would drop as well with the lack of serotonin and melatonin. And we see more chronic infections and chronic fatigue and nutritional deficits as well. Light recommendations. When it comes to light recommendations, we want to increase the amount of light exposure or sunlight exposure of the child. So maybe doing some outdoor classes is recommended. Some schools try to do low light days so they can cut on the budget, electrical bill budgets, which is not recommended. Allow sunlight to get into the classroom. When schools are being built, they need to take light into consideration, and create bigger windows. Also, using solar panels is a good way to reduce the cost of the electrical cost on lighting. And the recommendation is to look out for signs of SAD, which is the depression. Number 4, noise. Noise can come from inside of the classroom or outside of the classroom. Outside of the classroom could come from a PE period happening outside in the playground, or maybe traffic, an airplane, a helicopter. And inside of the classroom could come from talking, noise from the light bulbs in the classroom. Light bulbs have a certain amount of buzzing that cannot be avoided. And also noise that come from fans and AC outlets. All these kinds of noise are trying to be filtered, or these different places where noise are coming from, these sources are trying to be filtered in a child's mind, and it gets confusing on how to filter out your voice or the teacher's voice from these other pollutants. So the attention of the student goes down and the time on task is reduced. Noise and research. So most of the primary schools in America have failed the acoustical standards recommended by the American Speech Language Association. They do this by going into these classrooms when they're empty and they check the reverberations in the classroom, such as the amount of echoing and so on. And they've failed these standards. When you increase the background noise and echo is increased, this reduces the amount of learning done and increases the psychological implications and cognitive implications of a student. It also shown to increase high blood pressure, high heart rate, and elevated stress levels. And it also shown that noise prevents speech recognition skills and also shows decreased reading scores. Students that have learning difficulties have trouble separating the noise from what the teacher is trying to say or trying to teach. Now, the Environmental Protection Agency recommends that during the day, the noise should be kept at 45 to 35 decibels. However, noise pollution and noise in the environment will fluctuate between 70 and 60 decibels a day. Now, to get a better understanding of what a decibel sounds like, if someone is whispering to you, that is equivalent to 20 decibels, and a really loud radio playing song is 120 decibels. Noise and the recommendations. It's recommended that teachers keep students that have hearing impairments towards the front, and also keep an eye out for students that might have a hearing impairment. Classes that are not acoustically friendly, maybe are uncarpeted and have cement walls, don't have curtains, and produce more of an echo. The school administration should be contacted so this can be fixed. Also, a teacher can also plan her lessons that need a lot of concentration during timings of the day where it's not that noisy. And also you should help spread the word about the importance of reducing noise and its correlation with academic achievement. Okay, so there were other recommendations founded by different researchers, and one of them was about the correlation between color and the cognitive and behavioral performance of children or students. Now, he also, in his research, he recommended that we use warm colors, such as yellow, on 3 walls facing or to the sides of the students. He also recommended the use of light blue, for the back wall, so the wall the teacher is facing. Now, the use of the Cool colors should be put towards the front of the classroom, and students that need an extra boost of stimulation need to be seated next to warmer colors. And he also recommended that the carpet be the color of golden gray. Okay, other recommendations, such as classroom decor, should be kept not at a minimum, but there is a point where it gets too much. As you can see in this picture, this is not going to help the kids concentrate. It's too distracting. Also, there should be place for students to move around, so you give them opportunity for mobility. And you need to reduce the amount of aromas in the classroom. So some teachers like to put some scents around, but that's not recommended because some students can be highly allergic to aromas, even if they're organic. And finally, accommodating to special needs students. Students that have hearing or vision impairment need to be brought towards the front. And also, as we already talked about, the seating, the exercise ball, for students that have posture problems or maybe just attention or hyperactivity. When it comes to overall facilities and cognition, it's seen that schools that focus on teaching strategies, brain-friendly learning environments, and have a lot of school facilities do better academically, and they perform better than schools that don't. Schools that have rundown or poor building conditions and that are crowded will also not perform very well academically. So at the beginning, when schools are being designed, these aspects need to be taken into consideration. Building the classrooms, keep in mind the acoustics that are created. The angles of the walls can lower the amount of echoing. The school size, the smaller the school, the better the performance. Although if a school is very big in size, it could be subdivided. Also allow daytime lighting to enter into the building. Practice ecology, not just teach ecology. The staff room areas, there needs to be 3 staff room areas for teachers. Um, the temperature and humidity and ventilation should be taken into consideration, as well as learning spaces such as art rooms, drama classrooms, and so on. And the building needs to feel emotionally safe and environmentally friendly to help as much as possible to create an ambience that is socially and cognitively supportive. And summary. To achieve the optimal academic and behavioral performances, schools need to take many factors into consideration to devise a smartly designed environment suited for desired optimal performance. So, if they want the optimal performance of their students, the environment is a very big factor that will affect this, and it should be taken into consideration.